Hello, everyone. Kathy Bacon here from What's Your Story Radio. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you again for joining me this evening. I so appreciate it. Every week you're here. Every week you're commenting on the video and the live broadcast. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. It's great to be supported by all of you. And I get emails from all of you saying, gosh, I love that guest. How can I find out more about them? So let me give you the rundown. I did put out a video last week about I have a new scheduler. I'm taking the radio show to another level. So I've got a scheduler now. I am glad to give you that link if you're interested in being a guest. I am doing a logo and probably an app as well. So this show has really taken off. People are very excited about telling their stories. And, it's amazing that all of us, we have our own unique story. And each one of us can talk about trials, tribulations, good, bad, ugly. Every story we tell is connected to someone else. And that's the beauty of What's Your Story Radio, is that we get to tell a piece of our story and we get to create that human connection, which I think is a little bit lost. And I really want to get it back. So tonight, when you're viewing the interview, you'll be able to see our faces. You'll be able to see our eyes. You'll be able to hear us talking. And to me, that's very, very, very important. So if you want to know more about What's Your Story Radio, you can go to kathybacon.com. I've got my own website. All the interviews are housed there. You can find all the interviews there. You can find out more information how to be a guest. There is a guest page under contact. So please go in and have a look. And if you so desire and you want to tell your story, just contact me. I will send you the scheduler link and you can go in and schedule an interview. Happy to say that I am scheduled out now, clear till October. So if you're nervous, it gives you a little time, right? Gives you a little time to think about it. Maybe around the holidays, you'll be feeling like you just want to get that story out there. And guess what? That story can be about anything you want. It can be about your work. It can be about something that's happened to you in your life. It doesn't matter what that story is. There's no judgment at What's Your Story Radio. No judgment whatsoever. So whatever you choose to tell is going to be inspiring. And I can't wait to hear it. So tonight, I have a very special guest, and my guest is Brooke Jones. And I've known Brooke for quite a while. When I had the radio show called Pay It Forward Radio, she was one of my very first guests. And Brooke, it's been now, 4 or 5 years, probably since I have interviewed her. And she's really doing so many great things. That's going to be really nice to catch up with her. One of the new things that she's doing is that she's a life coach for, I think it's pronounced, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong, Sisu Coaching. And she's the founder of that organization, and she's the owner. So we're going to find out more about that. And she is the vice president of the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. Because if you live in Denver, you have to know about the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation, and even all over the world. There's a Facebook page. There is also a website. Random Acts of Kindness does amazing things in the world. And I'm sure many of you have heard of them, and we'll hear some more about them again tonight. Let me just give you a little information about Brooke. She wants to live in a world where people choose kindness over violence, compassion over cruelty, and action over indifference. She runs 2 businesses, Sisu Coaching and the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. She spends much of her time traveling the world, helping people understand how to move from point A to point B, and doing so with intentional and random acts of kindness, love, and joy. As the vice president of RAK, she oversees the education programs, website, social media, and strategic partnership efforts. Utilizing social media to build engagement, the RAK, Random Acts of Kindness Facebook page, engages over 1 million fans. She also maintains an active Twitter following and Pinterest group. Through the website, the Random Acts of Kindness curriculum is downloaded in countries all over the world. So this is just really a wonderful thing that everyone, I mean everyone in the world that has a computer has access to Random Acts of Kindness. As a life coach, she mainly works with people who have an entrepreneurial spirit and want to move from the mundane job to realizing a dream that's been sitting on the back burner. And I'm finding more and more people going in this direction. So this will be very informative for all of you tonight. Her roots are in the arts, and she received her degree in art history in 1998 after living in Paris, studying art and architecture and developing the rare talent of sustaining on baguettes, wine, and a chocolate for 2 years. I love it. And she has worked in the fine art industry and municipal government for most of her career before landing in the nonprofit sector and eventually earning a certificate in positive psychology and life coaching to pursue her own passion for helping others. When she's not posting inspiring stories on Facebook, visiting schools, or attending kindness event, you can find her curled up with a good book, working on one of her many crafts, or hanging out with her husband, daughter, and 2 cats. And so I have spoken enough about her, and now you are going to meet her. So welcome, Brooke Jones.
Hi, Kathy.
You.
It's so good to see you after all this time.
I know. I was thinking it's been a little bit of time, and it's just funny how so many things change in our lives over just a little bit of time. It hasn't been that long, but it's been enough to create some change. So tell me about the work you're doing as a coach.
Well, that came out of, I didn't plan that, I'll say that. I was pretty happy just managing a nonprofit, and that kept me pretty busy. But at some point there, I went in to get my certification in positive psychology because it just aligned so well with the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. And then I realized that all the theoretical information I was learning in positive psychology was fabulous, but I needed to understand how to apply it in real life. And so my life coaching came out of this desire to understand how to apply it in my job, but I realized that there was so much power in it in working individually one-on-one with people, and that this idea of helping people get out of a place where they felt stuck or just defeated was so important to me, and it was so powerful to me personally to help others do that, that I decided, well, why not just have another business? Because, hey, I have plenty of time for that. But I love it.
That's right. And how do you pronounce it?
You got it right. It's Sisu, and it's a Finnish word. It's a Finnish word that basically means facing adversity and being resilient in against all odds. So when you think there's really nothing left to pull from, finding that inner strength to do what you need to do to push through.
And you know, people are in a place now that they're looking for that. You know, times have changed. You know, I was in Thailand for 1.5 years, and just to keep hearing what's happening here and hearing the angst that people had and the anguish over certain things, you know, they're really looking for that. They're looking for something that gives them hope and passion, something that they're passionate about, and their life's mission and goals. And I think we get lost kind of in that sometimes with everything that's outside of us, right? I mean,
it's so easy to do that.
Yeah, it's nice to have people like you that can, you know, sort of bring us back, grab our legs from the, you know, sky and just bring us back down to earth for a minute and really get to the meat of what the situation is with each and every one of us. So
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you're doing that. That's really beautiful. And you have a beautiful website, by the way.
Thank you.
Um, really lovely, and a Facebook page as well. So please, all of you, really have a look. It's very comprehensive. The pictures are gorgeous. I mean, it's very well done. It's really
Thank
lovely,
you.
and a idea of what you're talking about. But how does the work weave into work you're doing in the as a vice president in the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation? Because there must be
Yeah.
some interweaving.
There is. I think that for me, the way it all came to one common denominator was this idea of how do we help people move from point A to point B. And for me, and I think for a lot of people, and science will back me up on this, is that helping others is scientifically proven to help ourselves, right? So it's literally a biological reaction. You have the chemistry in your body change when you help somebody else, whether it's through that moment of kindness, you hold the door for somebody, or you do this very intentional coaching, or whatever it is, listening to a friend who's going through a hard time. These are all moments that we can help others, and it actually helps us personally. And I found, and I actually wrote an article about this in Elephant Journal and Healthy Living, was I went through a pretty substantial period of depression, and I was on all kinds of antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication for years. And what I realized in working at Random Acts of Kindness and now through coaching is that I slowly tapered off the medications because I was finding so much fulfillment in doing these things for other people that it was literally changing the chemistry in my body. It was literally changing my brain chemistry to work for others and realize how much joy I was getting from that. And I slowly sort of tapered off the medicines, realizing I don't need them anymore. I'm not feeling that way anymore. This is what I need to do, is help other people.
I love that. That's so fantastic to hear, because it's really true. I when I was doing Denver Pay It Forward movement, in fact, I just handed it over to some people in Denver, and I'm so thrilled for that. But we did this little talk at one of the schools off of Colfax,
Hmm.
and I gave them a sheet about hugging, and I asked them to take it home to their parents. And I said, when you hug somebody, so many things in your body change.
Hmm.
You're right. There's scientific proof that connecting with another person, touching, hugging, doing something kind, changes
Yeah.
our whole physiology.
It does. It really does. And it was fascinating for me to learn that in the positive psychology course that I went through. I'm actually not a super touchy person. And it's funny,
Right.
when I started at Random Acts of Kindness Foundation, everybody was hugging all the time. And I was like, I'm not a hugger. But you kind of are expected to do it. And it's funny, over time, now I'm a hugger. I love hugging people. And it's the first thing I do when I meet people. And I realize I have to be careful about that because there are other non-huggers out there. But there is
Right.
something very real about human connection, both physical and just eye to eye connection, and sitting and being there for somebody it can change your brain chemistry. It changes um, all of those neural pathways when you kind of force your brain to change.
Mhm. It's true. It's very true. And that's why I changed the radio show to being able to see my guests and hear them, because just that human connection, just seeing your face and hearing you talk about
Hmm.
something that you're so excited about, gives me joy. It
Yeah.
gives listeners joy and inspiration. Like maybe they thought of doing something and they go, oh no, gosh, I can't do it. And then they hear somebody like you talk about how that came about for you, and they all of a sudden see light at the end of the tunnel. So
Hmm.
it's really, really good, I think, to be able to have that human connection, and it makes my life so much better. I can tell you that. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. I know exactly what you're saying. And I remember my husband wasn't a hugger either, but he learned to hug.
Right. I realize
Learned.
now I was missing out on all those years of pushing people away or just kind of shaking hands instead. But Now I'm like the big hugger. It's funny. I have a friend who would always hug me when I'd see her, and she's very petite, and I always felt like I was going to crush her if I gave her even a slight
Yeah.
hug. And she is this bear hug person, and I have to tell you,
Oh,
her hugs, and I've told her this a couple times, it just changed the way I felt about hugs because every time she hugged me, I felt like, oh, I need that a little bit longer or just a little bit
yeah.
stronger. And now I'm not the tap on the back hugger. I am
Yeah.
like a big bear hugger.
Get over here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Awesome. That's
yeah.
really great. Wow. So where do you derive joy and fulfillment?
For me, I think it mostly, I mean, there's a lot of things. There's the obvious answers, which of course, family, spending time with family is big for me. I'm lucky that my parents live just a half a mile from us, so
Nice.
we get to see them all the time, and my daughter gets to see them, and really, they've sort of, in many ways, co-raised her with us. She goes every day after school, and
Oh,
so
nice.
that family is super important to me. I have good friends that I love connecting with, but I actually, again, this is new for me. I've always been sort of an introvert, and I'm the one that will immediately go in a party and find the one person that I know and stick to that person. I'm
Mm.
actually finding more and more that I like meeting new people and love, as you do, hearing their stories. Um,
Yeah.
I think, as you mentioned in the bio in the beginning, I'm a big crafter, so I'm actually sitting in my craft room right now
Oh,
where I
nice.
love to sew, I love to knit. I will pick up any new craft that somebody suggests to me. In fact, it's so funny. When I was well, I guess I was probably 7, 8, 9 in the 70s when everybody loved macrame, and I used to think it was
Yeah.
the ugliest thing in the world. And now it's coming back. And I
Yes.
said to my mom the other day, I said, there's a macrame class down the street. Do you want to take that with me? It was like, really? You hate macrame?
Not
Um,
anymore.
no, now it's cool again. So I'm going to do that. I think, and the other
Yeah.
thing that I love to do is travel. I love going to places that I've never been and seeing new things and
Great.
tasting new things and
Yes.
just seeing cultures that are so foreign to me. I love I love learning about new cultures.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that really keeps me going in life is just to go, okay, where can I go next? And what is their culture going to be like? And
Yep,
what am I going to eat? And how are they going to do a wedding? And what do
right.
they do when they're happy? It's so fascinating to me to just be, dropped in the middle of that culture and find out how it all works because
Yep,
some of it's the same and some of it's a little bit different.
right.
And it's great. So I love that you
Yeah,
love to travel
I
as well.
love it.
I know you travel quite a bit,
I do.
right?
I travel a lot for work, but I also find it's interesting to me, I think as an American too, we have this
Yes.
generally this sense of like everybody needs to adapt to how Americans live and our culture. And in
Yeah.
reality, when we are missing out on so much. And when we go to another culture, even if it's just Western European culture that's not that different from ours, there is a sense of I'm here to learn from you. I'm not here to tell you how I do it or expect you to do it the way that I do it. I want to try new things. I want to be curious about the way you
Yeah.
do things here. So that's important to me and something we're really trying to instill with our daughter as well.
Oh, yeah. Because, we're taught here. I was born in the 50s and raised in the 70s. And so, you're told here that you have to have this job for 30
Hmm.
years and you have to drive this car and you
Hmm.
better live in this neighborhood because that neighborhood hit over there. You don't want to live over there and you don't want to interact with those people over there and you
Right,
don't want to travel and spend your money over there. You want to stay right here because this is where it's safe and nothing will ever happen
right,
to you. Oh crap.
right. I agree.
I'm here to tell you, right? You are too. That is just not true.
Right.
It is invigorating to travel.
Yeah, it really is. If you allow yourself to adapt and be flexible and be curious, it's so much fun. And uh, that's something that I'm so grateful that I have the ability to do that and that I've been to so many interesting places and I have met so many interesting people.
and they're lifers, you know. I mean, I've met a lot of people in Thailand that are still contacting me, and some of them live in Australia. They live all over the world, and what's really cool is that you just know that no matter where you go, once you meet these people, their house is open to you.
Yeah.
It'll always be. It's just a
Yeah.
really lovely thing. I'm so glad that you've found that world of travel as well for yourself, because I do find joy and fulfillment in that as well, and I think
Hmm.
it's a
Hmm.
really wonderful thing. How do you think others can find joy and fulfillment for themselves?
It's a good question. I think that it depends on who you are, but I think that the sort of bottom line thing that I would tell people is to be courageous and be open-minded and be curious. So if you aren't somebody who loves to travel or you're not able to travel, maybe that's not for you. But it could be as simple as breaking out of the mold of the books that you read, right? If you just read sci-fi novels, try something different. It could be trying a new restaurant. I think, again, especially as Americans, we get really stuck in
Hmm.
the sort of routine that we have that's comfortable and safe for us. And I'm certainly guilty of that myself.
All of us are. Yeah.
Yeah, I like my routine. Um, and generally in the past, I would have said, yeah, I don't know, like, can we just go back to Hawaii, or can we go back to somewhere that I am comfortable? I know what to expect. I know what the travel is going to be like. Anything like that. Try something different. You're going to be
Yeah.
surprised. Whatever it
Yeah.
is, try a different thing on the menu. Try at a party talking to somebody that you haven't talked to in the past, or um, just go outside of your comfort zone a little bit. That's what I would tell people. If you can do that, even a little bit, doesn't have to be huge, you can find joy and fulfillment in ways that you never expected.
Yeah. It's just really taking that first step, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just push yourself. And I know it's hard at times for all of us. It's not been always easy, but I think if you just, you know, say, okay, this week I'm going to try one new thing,
Hmm.
and see how that goes. And then what ends up happening is that you get so comfortable is that you're just like you become a kid in the candy store and you want to try some new stuff all the time then,
Right. Right.
you know? And
And you
it's
realize
lovely.
some of those things that you've tried and you like,
Yeah,
that becomes part of your routine. So then it's time to change it up again. You have to do something different.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's amazing once you realize that. I
Right.
think it comes a little bit with age.
I agree. I
But
agree.
I will say, that I see more and more young people really venturing out in the world, really getting out there and putting themselves out there and meeting new people and trying new things. And, there's this whole culture in Thailand, and it's called, where you work online. So it's, digital nomads. And so there are a lot of young people that work online and they just travel around and they meet people, they work from wherever they're at, and they get to see the world. I mean, I wish that was
Wow.
going on when I was younger,
Yeah.
because it's kind of a really cool thing to sort of go, okay, I've got a job and can I work online? Because if I can, then hey, maybe I can work somewhere else in the world and
Right.
check those things.
Right.
So what piece of advice would you give those who are struggling? Because this is a biggie, feeling lost and stuck.
Hmm.
And, women, a lot of women that I know have gone through that in certain stages of their life.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden they're stuck and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm this age, I'm that
Right.
age, already done this. I don't want to do that anymore. I need to move on. So, what advice would you give?
That it's a tough one, and I'm certainly of that age too, where I've kind of been told right through the past generations that get a job that's comfortable,
Yeah.
safe, so that you can live the life you want. Um, and that's okay for some people. It really is. Even the life coaching for me has been a real risk. At my age, I'm 43, to try and start something new, even though I'm not leaving my job to do it.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's finding there. This has been an important piece for me, is finding what your strengths are and actually asking other people, tell me what you think my strengths are. Because honestly, when we're asking ourselves, what am I good at or what are my strengths, it's very different sometimes than what others see in us.
Yes, it's
Ask
true.
ask people. It's funny at work. I guess this was 3 or 4 years ago. I remember we had one of those sort of team building exercises, and somebody said to me, you know, you are such a good writer. I would really like to see you do more writing. And I actually laughed and I thought, you, why are you patronizing me? You know, I'm not a good writer.
Yeah.
I don't. And then I realized, wait a minute, they're not just saying that. I have to listen to what other people are saying. I never would have told myself or even described myself as a writer of any kind. And I listened to that, and now I'm in a place where I try and do more and more writing as I can, and I love writing, and it comes very easily to me, which I thought, well, everybody can write. I mean, how hard is it? It's not that
Yeah.
hard to write. And
Right.
people struggle with it. So find your strengths, be honest with yourself about what they are, even if it's one or two, to say, I am really good at connecting with people, or I am really good at listening to others, or I am actually a pretty good artist, or whatever it is, and then ask others, give me one or two things that you think are strengths of mine, and sort of compile that and say, okay, I have a list of 7, 8, 9 strengths that aren't currently being utilized in the position that I'm in the job that I'm in the role that I'm in. Even if, if, let's say you're a stay-at-home mom, maybe you're not a career person, that's fine. Are you utilizing those strengths as much as you can be in the role that you're playing? And if you're not, how can you use those more? And does it require that you change what you're doing? And so that's part of what I work with people on in coaching, is to say, you know, you don't have to quit your job tomorrow and say, I'm going to be a writer.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't have to do that. It can be sometimes just changing up what you're doing in the role that you're in to find more fulfillment out of it. And that is easier than we think. It can take a little bit of courage to try it, and to maybe work with the people that you are with, whether it's your family or your coworkers, to say, you know what, I'd really like to do more of this. I know I'm an accountant and I'm supposed to be doing numbers all day, but I actually have this side of me that really wants to do this. Could I find a place to do some of that? That's what I would suggest. And I think, and I'll come back to it again from the random acts of kindness perspective.
Yeah.
If you're feeling stuck and you're feeling kind of blah, if you're doing things for other people, I'm telling you, it's amazing what kind of change it makes in yourself. There's so much fulfillment that comes from helping others, even if it's just those moments during the day where you let somebody into traffic, or you hold the door open for them, or you buy coffee for the person behind you. The rush that you get from doing that, it's real. It sticks with you longer than you think. And I'll tell you, there's this triangulation effect of the person that does the act of kindness, the person that receives it, and then the person that witnesses it. They actually all have the exact same chemical reaction in their body. Even if you just saw it, you weren't part of it, you just saw it. You get the same dopamine and serotonin rush. So make time for those moments. Look for those moments when you can do those things.
That's really awesome, because it's funny that you say that, because I've been the person on the receiving end, I've been the giver, and I've been the witness. And
Mm-hmm.
all three of those were the exact same. And
Yep.
there was just so much joy. And it came from the inside out.
Yeah.
It kind of, when I think about it, it reminds me of when the Grinch's heart
Yeah.
opened. I
It's
always
true.
think of that. But it was true. His heart just opened up, and because he felt what it was like to give. And
Right.
it's just an amazing thing. I agree with you 100%. I talk about it all the time. It's like when I'm in a bad mood, or when things aren't going
Mm-hmm.
well, or when your friend calls and says, I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm that. Go to Starbucks and buy a cup of coffee and buy
Yep.
somebody else one behind you. It's so simple. And
Yep.
you drive off going, it works better for you than it probably does the other person.
Exactly. I mean, there is a level of selfish to it, right? If you're feeling
Yeah.
down and you decide to go check on your neighbor who isn't feeling well, knowing that it's going to make yourself feel better, that's okay. It's okay. You both win.
Yes,
Nothing
I
wrong with
know.
that.
I know. It's just, and it's awesome because, like, you name some things that don't cost money.
Hmm.
Like, one of the things that always I was so engulfed in Thailand is you would walk down the street and people just randomly smiled. And they always smiled. And that was worth millions of dollars to me
Yeah.
because there were days that were hard. And there were days that I was down on myself or things didn't go like I thought they would. I'm in another country. It's not as easy.
Yep.
But they smiled. They smiled at me every day. And after a while, it's like you fake it till you make it.
Right.
I mean, you can open a door for someone. Like you said, there's so many things that are free that you can
Yep.
do. And
Exactly.
makes you feel so darn good inside, makes you feel
Yeah.
so darn. How can people get involved with Random Acts of Kindness Foundation?
So it's hard. We don't have sort of a volunteer
Right.
group, which I wish we did. We're such a small staff and we don't have the capacity to manage a volunteer group. But there are a couple ways. So social media is really where we have the biggest presence. As you said, we have over 1 million on our Facebook page.
Yes.
But there's actually this sort of secret group as well. We call them the Ractivists, which is the RAK activists, Ractivists. And this is a group of people who step it up in ways that constantly inspire us. There are about 10,000 of them, and they are able to share, this is what I did today, or I saw this today, or here's an idea you can do in your classroom, or here's something. So there's fabulous ideas on there, and we give them monthly missions and ideas to spread. And then I think, for us, it's really not about being technically involved with the organization. It's about continuing to spread this wherever you are with whatever you have. So you can live in a farm town, or you can live in a big city, or you can live, on the beach, and there's always an opportunity to do something kind. And so for us, the best way to get involved is to practice this all the time in your life. And we love to hear the stories. We're big video people. So when we hear about some really great stories, we go out and videotape and share those stories. On the Random Acts of Kindness website, there's lots of great videos of people who sort of go above and beyond. But there's also just simple stories of kids, of adults, of elderly people that are doing things with what they have. There's a gentleman, Chris Rosati, who has ALS, and he is in a wheelchair and, quite disabled, but he has brought joy and happiness and kindness to people all over the world with what he has where he is. He isn't able to get out and walk around and hand out money or that kind of thing, but he has created an organization that spreads a lot of joy. So find a way to do what you can with what you have, and add a little bit of extra kindness into your day, whether that's just waking up in the morning and sending a positive text to somebody and saying, "Good morning, I was thinking about you. I hope you're going to have a great day." You've just made their day.
Right. I mean, and there's so many things that you do within your day that you don't realize the impact you have on other people. And I
Yeah.
love that because there's times that I've said something to someone or I've sent them a message and, they've come back and said, "Kathy, you have no idea how much that meant to me."
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was just like, I'm just going to check in on them. It's not a big deal. Just see how they're doing. But to them, it meant the world. And we just don't know the impact that we
Right.
can have on someone. Or, we just don't know everyone's story either. Where are they at today? What have they gone through in their life? Maybe they need a hug. Maybe they need a call. Maybe they just need a text
Right.
or a message. And you're absolutely right. And I think that if you're doing that, you are part of the Random Acts of Kindness
Exactly.
Foundation.
Exactly.
You are the foundation because
That's right.
the foundation was built on random acts of kindness.
We wouldn't exist with all these people. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and it's a great organization. I'm always on your Facebook page reading the stories. I love reading the stories because I love stories. And
Yeah.
what's really cool too is that we sometimes forget that people's stories, they might not be the same as ours, but I can bet you we have a little piece of each person's story, or they have
Right.
part of ours. So we share that as being one,
Right.
so I love
Right.
that. I love that. So get involved with Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. If you're not, go onto their Facebook page. They have one, and be a friend. See first their notifications. Go to their website, check it out, because I'm sure something inside will go, hey, I could do this. I could do that.
Right.
There's so many things we're capable of doing to make the world a better place. And it's just an amazing foundation. And in a perfect world, I would be working there.
We're going to work on that. We're going to make
I
that
think
happen.
it's awesome. There's nothing, I mean, I could talk about it for hours, how great it is. And I'm so happy that you are the vice president and that you are heading up so many wonderful things that are happening there.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
curriculum now, you've got parents and teachers involved, and what advice would you give them on incorporating more of this at home or in the classroom?
So, it's interesting. Across the United States, there is a movement right now to incorporate more of this social and emotional learning piece in schools. And in fact, in Colorado and several other states, it's a mandate that schools spend a certain amount of time doing this during the week.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, most teachers and most districts don't even know it's a mandate. You'd be surprised how many times we go out to schools and say, did you know that you're actually required to teach this much of it during the week? And they're like, no, I never heard that. So for us, the nice thing the RAC has, we have a kindergarten through 12th grade curriculum that it's research, evidence-based.
Nice.
We have done an incredible amount of work to get it to a place where it could stand up against any other social emotional curriculum.
Right.
And the nice thing for us is that it's 100% free. So many of the schools are buying these curriculums for tens of thousands of dollars plus the cost of training.
Wow.
It's 100% free. The funder for us said, you must make this available for free. If school districts are struggling with money, we don't want this to be one more thing that they have to struggle with. So
Nice.
right now, the curriculum is downloadable on the website. You can get any of the grades, any of the resources. There's posters, there are activities, games, videos, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I would suggest try out one or two of the lesson plans in your school. Parents, they were written in a way that parents could actually use these at home as well for homeschool, or for just, I'm having trouble right now with respect at home. I need something to help me with my kid and their level of respect. We have 12 concepts that we kind of have under the umbrella of kindness, including compassion, respect, perseverance, integrity, all of these concepts that we want to teach kids starting at a really young age, all the way through high school, where they're struggling with, identity and issues of peer pressure and those kinds of things. So all of it comes from this lens of kindness and how we can help make kids stronger and more successful in life, because academics only go so far. If you don't have the skills once you get out of school on how to communicate and how to deal with conflict and how to relate to others, you're not going to get that far.
No, that's right. And there's a school in Seattle I interviewed a few years back, and it's called the Kindness School.
I love them.
And I'm sure you know about them.
Yep.
And I just looking at that school and seeing the video that they've done and just seeing
That's our video, actually. We did a video on them.
You did it? Okay. Yeah. I mean, it was lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, just to see what teaching kindness does in a classroom. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. You would not believe. You can go into school where, people will say, oh, you're an anti-bullying curriculum. And you say, we're not. This isn't about what not to do. This is about what you want people to do. And when you see it in action and you see a school who really embraces what this looks like, it's like another world.
It was like another world. Mm-hmm. It was. I mean, it was shocking. And I'm sorry, I forgot his name at this moment in time, but he came on, and his demeanor was so different than any other teacher or any other person in a school that I've ever met.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's so positive.
it was so positive, so
Yeah,
positive. And, you know, kindness, you can't live without it.
right,
And I don't know where people think that they can, but they just really can't. And it has to be taught in the
right.
schools. You're right.
It
I
it
mean,
really does.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's an argument. It's interesting. Some of the schools we go into, teachers are a little reticent. They say, this, why do we have to teach this? This should be taught at home. I agree. It should actually be taught
Yeah.
everywhere because in reality,
Right.
everybody is a teacher that's modeling this behavior
Right.
every moment of every day. You could be at the grocery store and the cashier is modeling and teaching this behavior. You can't decide it's only going to be taught in one place. And when you have kids 8+ hours a day, you can't
Yeah.
avoid the fact that you are teaching them or not teaching them good behavior. So I would make the argument to teachers that say this should really be taught at home. It's not my job. You're teaching it anyway, whether you want to be or not. So
Well, it
so
takes a
use the
village.
resources.
It
Yeah, it
takes,
takes a village.
it's all of our responsibility.
That's right.
It's my responsibility when I'm out in the street or in the grocery store or wherever I am. It's my
That's right.
responsibility to be kind,
That's right. It's that
and
witness, right?
right, exactly. So it's not, to say that, that's where the problem lies then. I mean,
Right.
kindness needs to happen in every single place that we reside and that we live and that we go and that we are,
That's
because
right.
that's who we inevitably are if
Right.
we have the chance, you know?
That's right.
Um, yeah, I love it. I was going to ask you about this, the positive psychology. How does that
hmm
play a role in your work?
So positive psychology, I didn't know that much about it, I have to say. When I first learned about it, I thought, well, this is interesting because I think of psychology as um, what's wrong with you, right?
Right,
Let's
right,
fix
right.
what's wrong with you.
Let's fix it.
And yeah, let's fix you. Um, Positive psychology is this idea of, I love the phrase that I learned in the course, which is this idea of going north of neutral. So for
Right,
me in particular, when I got to the point of getting off the depression and anxiety medication, I realized I felt pretty good. I felt all right. I didn't feel depressed anymore. Um, but I didn't feel good. I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel happy. And
right,
I just figured, well, that's not who I am. I guess I don't get to be one of those people.
right.
I just get to be either, unhealthy and sad or pretty good.
Yeah,
And it's the idea of going north of pretty good. How do you get past there? How do you flourish? How do you find joy in life? And it was so intriguing to me to figure out, could I be one of those people that actually
right.
looks forward to the next moment in life or looks forward to a vacation? I would sort of dread, it would be like, oh, I've got to do all the packing. I've got to figure out where we're going. Oh, what if the flight is late? All these things. And
Right.
so positive psychology for me was there are several concepts that play into positive psychology, including your
Right.
mindset. There was another little, and this is a great tidbit for people to say, especially for kids in school. They may say to themselves, um, I'm not very good at drawing, or I'm not very good at long division.
Mhm.
If you can add one word to the end of that sentence, it changes your whole mindset. If you say, I'm not very good at long division yet,
Mhm. Ah,
right?
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
yet. I'm not a world traveler yet. I'm not, whatever it is. Um, that gives this sense of hope and optimism that I can do this. I have to put a little bit more into it, or I need a little bit of help with long division before I'm really good at it. Because
right.
I think personally in our own minds, we write off when we say to ourselves, I'm not very good at that, or I can't do that. I can't climb a mountain, or I can't run a marathon.
Right.
It's so easy to just accept that as reality. If you say the word yet at the end of any of those sentences, it really does change your mindset.
Ah,
Um, and then the idea of just, being grateful. I always would hear people that would talk about gratitude journals. You know, I keep a gratitude journal, and I thought, wow, that's like so hippie of you, you know? Like, I don't get it. You know, I'll think during the day, like, oh, I'm grateful that my car is working and it got me to work today.
Right.
It never occurred to me that I needed to write it down. And so I
Oh,
wasn't that person, but it was part of the course was you must write down 3 things you're grateful for every morning or every evening. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to see if it, uh, I'm taking the course. Let's see if it really does change things. And just the act of putting pen to paper and writing it down, getting it out of your brain and not just thinking, oh, I'm grateful my car worked this morning, but writing down, I'm really grateful that my car got me to work this morning. I'm really grateful it didn't rain today. Whatever it is, it really does change, again, your brain chemistry when you put pen to paper and write those things down. And so there are all kinds of things with positive psychology that I've pulled into the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation, into my own personal life coaching with people. It's not about fixing you. It's about how do we get you from this place where you are to the next place you want to be, rather than let's go back and figure out all the things that are wrong with you and decide what to do about that.
yeah. I love the way that psychology has taken a different turn in our day and age, because you're talking about how it used to be, and it did used to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Like what happened to you when you were a child? Well, that's why the way you
Right.
are, because
Right.
your dad did this or your mom did that. But
Yeah.
you're right, it's so much different now, where let's talk about the moment. Let's talk about right now and how
Right.
we're going to, like you said, get you from point A to point B. And you're
Right.
going to feel achieved, and you're going to feel better, and you're going to feel grateful for what you've learned about
Right.
yourself.
Right.
And I
And we're not
love
going to look at it, we're not going to look at it from the deficit perspective. We're going to look at it from a strength perspective of you have all these things going for you, and we're going to use that to get you to the next level.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That's great
Yeah.
psychology and great coaching on your part. Absolutely. I really, I love that
Yeah.
thought of that kind of psychology, because, people get scared when they hear psychology still to this day, especially people
Right.
in my generation.
Right. You
You're
think
like,
of that word
I'm not going to a
shrink, right?
psychologist.
You're right. Right. I don't need that. Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
But it's true. But, it's changed a lot, just like lots of different things like that to empower people have changed.
Right.
And so you have to be more open today about
Right.
what people and who is out there to help.
Right. Right.
And I love that. I love that you've incorporated that into your coaching as well as random acts of kindness. I mean,
Yeah.
it plays hand in hand. So what's a good daily practice people can build into their day?
Well, I think one of them that I just mentioned is, and I'm telling you, I was not a believer in it, but the gratitude journal. Wake up and roll over and write down 3 things that you're grateful for. It can be anything. And I would encourage people to go beyond, it's easy enough to write, I'm grateful for my children, or I'm grateful for my health. It can be the silliest thing in the world. Really, it can be, I am grateful that my snap peas started
Growing.
sprouting in the garden, or
Oh,
I am grateful that traffic coming home last night was quick so I could come home and watch Game of Thrones. Or,
yeah. Yeah. Right.
it doesn't have to be some profound thing.
No.
It can be very simple. And there's actually a fun exercise when it comes to gratitude that we did in the class that it seemed so silly at the time, but it was great. You take a ping pong ball. If you have a
Right.
partner, you toss this ping pong ball back and forth, and every time you toss it, and you do this for 5 minutes, which doesn't seem like a long time, but it's actually quite a long time.
Yeah.
Every time you pass it back and forth, you have to name something new that you're grateful for. 5 minutes going back and forth like that, you probably come up with 100 things, and you start getting kind of silly with it, actually.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I didn't have to wear dirty clothes today. I am grateful, whatever it is.
Right.
And you start realizing, I'm grateful I have clean water. I'm grateful that, my daughter has a school to go to down the street. You have to think of things really quickly. It's quite powerful to do that. And it's the second part, again, there's that pen to paper part of it that really does work the neuroscientist side of it, the pathways. But it's also something that when you are feeling down or you're feeling stuck or you're feeling like, what's the point? Look back on that journal, because you start realizing, wow, there's a whole lot here that I am grateful for, there's a whole lot to live for. There's a whole lot to get up in the morning for. There's a lot here that I need to focus on, and maybe I'm not currently focusing on that. Go back to the journal.
Yeah. I one year gave gratitude jars. I made these beautiful gratitude jars for friends and for some of my friends' kids and for myself. And it was so empowering every day to just get up and write something. And like you said, it could be silly. It could be like, gosh, I'm really glad I found my tennis shoes this morning to go walking.
Right.
Or, I mean, it could be silly things, but they are reasons that you're grateful. It doesn't have to be, like you said, so profound. And you just fake it till you make it, really.
Right. And those gratitude jars are a great idea. You can do those as a family. I think I think we suggested this one year, as like, it was I think it was a New Year's Eve thing. Get an empty jar on New Year's Eve. So on New Year's Day, you take a scrap of paper and everybody in the family writes one thing they're grateful for. You crumple it up, you put it in the jar. And then at the end of the year on New Year's Eve, you open up the jar as a family and you look through it, or as an individual, or as a classroom, or, you can do it first day of school, last day of school. And it's amazing to see how much 1 year, 1 month, however long you want to do it, things change.
Yeah, and there's also a good that you said is like, once you have the jar or you've written, and some days might be a down day and you can't really think of anything, and you just put your hand in that jar, or you just flip through those words that you wrote and you just point at something, or you grab something and go, remember that day I was grateful for that?
Right.
That was a good day.
Right.
So it kind of takes you back to that, to that moment of gratitude that we all need to feel,
Right.
It's lovely. So what's next for you? I mean, you're doing a couple of really wonderful things. I can't imagine that, gosh, there'd be anything next for a minute or two.
I know. It's actually a scary question for me. So I get up every day and go, oh, geez, what's next today? I'm hoping, we have been lucky enough to work with some amazing people throughout the years. And we just recently met with the Dalai Lama again. And so this was the third time that I've had a chance to meet him, which has been life-changing. And
I love that picture of you guys.
Oh, I know. I love that picture. It was so sweet. That I have to tell you the story of it, just because it was so sweet. We got into the room, and there's sort of a protocol with him that you can sort of bow, shake his hand, and that's what I did. And then I backed away for the next person to take their photo, and he just looked at me and he said, "Is that it?" And I was like, "What?" And he said, "Do you want a hug?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And so I went in for that picture, and he leaned his head on me and just sort of held me there for a minute, and I got a great picture. And then we spent 30 minutes with him, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is it. This is the moment you have to ask him what's the meaning of life. I have to have some profound question for him. And he was cracking jokes the whole time. It was so funny. And I thought, I'm not asking him anything. I'm just going to listen to him.
I'm just going to roll
jokes.
with this.
Yeah, I'm just going to enjoy this moment. But the last time we met with him, he sent an email. Well, one of his people sent an email to us afterwards and said, I'd really like to learn more about the curriculum, because this is something I would like to potentially promote. He has a kindness curriculum that he's working on through Emory University, but
nice.
I'm hoping that's what's next for us, is to partner with the Dalai Lama and his folks to do something well beyond what we're already doing. I think that would be a dream come true.
It would be a dream come true. He's always been my teacher from the moment that I can remember crossing over the line of there's something different about my life than everyone else's right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and figure out what that is.
Yeah.
And I read his books. I mean, I've read every one of his books. I love posting his quotes. I mean, he is just, to me, he's just the epitome of good. And
He is.
when he laughs,
It's the best.
it's the best.
It's the best. I'm telling you, his laugh is the best thing I've ever heard in my life. And that I'm getting, my daughter can't hear me right now because I love her laugh and I loved her baby laugh, but I'm telling you what, the Dalai Lama's laugh is like the best thing in the world.
I love it. So that would be a wonderful thing to happen to Random Acts of Kindness, and just really for the world and for the kids and in the schools. And you know, there is a movement, and it's going to
Yeah.
happen where we
Yeah.
all move forward and we, you know, do what's needed in the schools for kindness and love
Yeah.
and gratitude. It's happening. This is the time is now. You know, I don't know any other time it would be. So,
No,
can
I
you
think
tell
you're right.
us again how we can get a hold of you? How, because I also put that on my website, your contact information.
Hmm.
So, is it best to get a hold of you through Facebook, or through your websites, or what is best for you?
The best, if you want to get a hold of me directly, the best way is through the sisu.coach. So that's sisu.coach.
Okay.
You can contact me through there, or if you want to contact, we haven't got the messaging opened up on the Facebook page for Random Acts of Kindness, just because
Okay.
there
It
are
would be too much.
it's so much, and I
Yes,
can't respond to
of
all of
course,
them. So
of
you
course.
can also get me directly through my Facebook page. So either the Sisu Facebook page
Okay.
or my personal Facebook page is
Perfect.
great. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, it's just been so delightful to see you and hear all about Random Acts of Kindness again, but also your coaching. I can't think of a better person that would be coaching in a
Oh,
positive
thank you.
and great manner that you would do it, because you just exude kindness. You really do. And I am grateful and honored to know you. I really, really
Oh,
am.
the
And
feeling is mutual.
I mean that, in every sense of the word. So I hope you all enjoyed this interview tonight with Brooke Jones from Random Acts of Kindness, and also from Sisu Counseling. She's coaching. It's not counseling, it's
That's
coaching.
okay.
I don't want to say counseling,
Right.
because I think coaching is better. And I think that's more what you're doing. So it's coaching. So forgive me.
That's okay.
So find her, connect with her. You know, she may have said something tonight that resonated with you, and you might want to connect with her, and please do that. I've sent people to Brooke in the past, to talk about kindness, and she's been very, very open and honest about all of that. So please don't hesitate to do that. And, you know, What's Your Story again tonight has just really gone to a whole nother level with Brooke Jones, and just getting to know more about what she's doing today, from the past 4 years, has really been inspiring to me. And like I always say, you know, inspiration is it for sure. I mean, it that's where all the people that watch my show, that's what they talk about, how inspired they were, or
Mhm.
something that someone said. And so keep watching, because the guests on this show will keep always getting better, and they're going to resonate with you. And some may be good, and some may not be something you're comfortable hearing. And that's going to happen too. So be prepared. But again, there's no judgment here. And Brooke Jones, thank you. Thank you
Thank
so,
you.
so much for being here, and I appreciate your kindness and your time this evening. And I know that I will see you again. So goodbye, everyone.